Welcome to In Search of Catholic School Excellence, the show where we spotlight the programs, people, and practices making a real difference in Catholic education today. If you're a school leader striving to build a community of faith, excellence, and innovation, you've come to the right place. Each episode brings you ideas that are working, stories that inspire, and new possibilities for your school's mission. Let's explore what's working and what's possible. Hello, today we are speaking with Mary McKeever, principal and fearless leader of St. Philip's School in San Francisco. St. Philip's School is a K-8 school, and they do many things right, but I'm especially impressed by the SMARTS program, which is a unique take on how they round out their academic program. Welcome, Mary. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you. And today we get to talk about something that is nothing but happiness. You know, most schools have their, we call the secondary round of academic classes, your once a weeks, your specials, if you will. That might be a foreign language, it might be art, it might be music, it might be technology. And a lot of folks just have a simple program where there's 30 minutes a week. Let's try to introduce some things, and hopefully, it's a good use of time. The kids learn something, and, eventually it amounts to something wonderful, and the kids are all well-rounded. But you weren't satisfied with how that went down. Can you give us a little idea of how you started out with the SMARTS program? What was the genesis for that, and how did it all come to be?
Sure. So it really started with us wondering if we could offer something a little bit different for our middle school kids, because when they get to middle school, sometimes they tend to outgrow things. And especially for our eighth graders, we wanted to give them something that would make them feel, a little bit more apart or in a special way from the rest of the students. So we wanted to give them that opportunity. And we thought that expanding, yes, our already pretty robust enrichment programs would be the way to do that, by introducing something that would be more than and different from what all of the other kids did. And so we had an idea that we would tap into various genres, if you like, being one of them being art. We also started off with a STEM and coding mindful program. And then we also delved into mindfulness because we'd started to bring that in across the school. So we thought those three areas, first of all, would work, and they would, cover a lot of different ways of thinking and offer something a little bit different in each class. So we tried that, started that 2 years ago. It was very successful, but we did find as we went along that having a class for an hour and a half was a little bit too long for the kids. They weren't quite ready for that. And that we could expand our SMARTS program by actually providing double the amount of classes in half the amount of time. So we expanded it from 3 to 6, and that's where the acronym SMARTS came from, all of the 6 classes. But really, it is just that we're strong on enrichment. We feel that our school has a very good balance between rigorous academics, which is part and parcel of being a Catholic school, along with this enrichment program that allows all students, but maybe in particular students who struggle with academics, to feel very successful. And so it's important to us that we have been able to maintain the enrichment program. And then, as I said, the SMARTS program for middle school was a further expansion of that.
Expand a little bit on why the shift from some of those traditional classes to the 3 that you chose initially. Doing mindfulness, is not necessarily a direct replacement for any one of those other classes, right?
Right.
The art makes sense, the STEM makes sense on the technology front, but why that combo to start with? And then how did that become those particular 6?
Right. So, as you said, the mindfulness doesn't replace anything, but especially coming back after COVID, which was just shortly after COVID, we were very aware of the fact that our students needed a lot more social emotional learning. And then we're also very aware that there are particular pressures on eighth graders, for example, and sometimes seventh grade, because they're thinking a lot about high school. And that age group, that teenage age group, it comes with its own set of stressors for them. And so we felt that having a mindfulness program that was specifically geared to them and what they needed in mindfulness and social emotional support was critical. The art program is amazing throughout the school, but we also wanted to give the artists in sixth, seventh, and eighth grade something very different, something that was different from what the rest of the program was. And then, of course, STEM and coding, we wanted to tap into expanding technology and meeting the kids where they're at with that. We felt that having these classes run for a trimester was about 11 or 12 weeks, which, if my research is correct, I think that's about the right amount of time for kids to really start to learn and internalize what they're doing. So it's not like they're learning something one day or one week and then they're moving on to something different. There was a lot of consistency and there was an end product with all of these. Even with mindfulness, the end product was for them to be able to reflect upon the journey that they'd had for the last 11, 12 weeks and to document and journal and so on as part of that process. But we did want to further expand for practical reasons, but we also felt that we could bring more options to the kids because the first three were very successful. So we looked at ways of expanding and what else would be something that the kids would enjoy doing. And really, what's behind it is that it's learning, if you like, outside the box. It's learning beyond the book. It's learning in a more practical way, in ways that kids who maybe are a little bit reluctant to quote unquote learn or attend school would not even see this as something subject based like other classes might. And so we wanted to really get the enthusiasm going, and we thought about, well, what would work really well. Obviously STEM was working really well and we wanted to keep the technical component. The mindfulness program, we have wanted to keep that, and we've expanded that program into breath work and relaxation techniques and so on. We actually call it rejuvenation now. And of course, the art was always very successful. One of our teachers felt that they needed something in computer systems because some of them were still, pecking on keyboards and not able to make PowerPoint. So we wanted to set them up for success, not just for high school, but also for presentations here at school. And of course, they all love technology and being able to use their Chromebooks. So that became another program that we offered. And then the two other new ones were fashion and style and trades. And trades and fashion and style, to me, they're the ones that have the most personal connection with me. I come from a background that is a combination of trades and fashion and style. I grew up in a household where creativity was central, whether that was music or art or decorating or whatever it might be. And so those were my favorite subjects at school. And I always felt it was important to offer those to the boys and the girls. Luckily, we have an amazing group of parents who are very talented, and that's their baby. They're in that field. And so we brought the trades and style the fashion and style and the trades to the program, because those two in particular are where kids get to really apply their smarts and their learning in ways that they maybe didn't consider. There's so much math that goes into trades. There's so much math in some ways that goes into fashion and style. It's just a combination of everything. I've always been a fan of Gardner's multiple intelligences and how you can be smart in different ways and how you can show that you're smart in different ways. So that's where we were going with that. And it's been hugely successful, especially in those two areas, because the kids absolutely love it. We were able to break the classes up into smaller groups of 14 or 15 kids, which made it very manageable, and they were able to get a lot of one-on-one attention.
Yeah, it's amazing when you can, take a different approach and the way that you can meet the kids where they're at and they find a love they didn't know they had, and then they start to shine. There's obviously, you have kids who are going to be strong academically and they're going to shine in everything that they do, but there's so many different ways that you can approach that educational piece and really bring out the best in a lot of these kids. And most of them don't even know that they have an interest or an expertise because they haven't even tried yet. So
Right.
bringing this variety is, I think, a great thing.
Well,
What?
that was one of the reasons as well for trades, is because, and it may seem a bit weird saying it as someone who's the leader of an institution that is rigorously academic, but I think it's really important for kids to know that they can have a very successful career doing something that might be different from your typical, I'm going to college to study this or this, even teaching or whatever it might be. I'm not trying to discourage them from that, but I'm trying to open the possibility for them to explore. And as you said, maybe discover, you know what, maybe this is something I really want to do. I never thought of it like that before, because there is a need for trades and we
Hmm.
all know that. We just can't get people anymore, and there used to be trade schools and now there aren't, and they're desperately needed. I always said if I had a high school, that's one program I would put in place, because I want kids to know I can go ahead and have an education and use my talents and my abilities and have a very fulfilling career doing something that is in the trades. And
Hmm.
we have an amazing parent who's also an aide at the school, and she has a background in trades, and she has a degree in architecture. She has a master's in design. She took the trades class and ran with it. And she really created something very amazing from that is completely mission aligned, where and where kids see the value of trades in everyday life. And so her presentations to get the kids kick-started were just phenomenal.
Hmm.
Remember, you and I talked about where would we take our skills with our kids and build something, for example, for homeless
Hmm.
people, or something that would align with service projects. So that's where we're going with this program as well, is that every year the kids will have an end product, but the end product will also be something that aligns with our mission to be of service to other people, look after the environment, so on.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. When you include I mean, the whole reason why we're at a Catholic school is, right, we're trying to live our faith. We're trying to show that we're growing in that way, and we can practice that and we can incorporate that into so many things. I think this is a great example of how you can, you know, look at so many different aspects of your program and you can do some cool things. You don't have to necessarily stay in that box. And it seems like the kids are responding well to it. It seems like the parents are responding well to it. And you're out there in the community, which, impacts the school in such a positive way. Do you
Yeah.
have it? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, the mission as well as, and the philosophy is that every child should feel successful. And I know that phrase about the whole child gets talked about a lot, but I really feel that doing something like our smarts program or any of our enrichment programs is speaking to that, because I do see those kids who are the shy little kids and never realized that they had a talent for designing clothing or costumes or sewing, boys or girls, or the
Hmm.
girls who didn't think that they were going to be interested in building something like a tray, which they did make, and we brought coffee to the teachers on the tray. But,
Hmm.
simple little things like that. It's a starting point for where they can go with this. And I know that they love it and are learning from it. And it's a great way to get parents in as well and be able to show the kids that what they do is very meaningful in their lives.
Yeah. Getting the whole community involved and stacking
Mhm.
smiles while the kids are learning, like you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Do you have any other specific successes, any little vignettes about one of these programs that has impacted a particular kid, or, where are the roses that you're getting back from this?
Yeah, I think having been in the classes where I've seen the focus, first of all, and the learning intentionality that there is among the kids and among the people that are working with them, definitely the small class size helps. But I see a lot of group work. I see kids that are way more confident because they're in that very small class with that almost undivided attention, and they're able to stand up and give a presentation and they've designed something, they've made something by themselves or with another person, and they're very proud of it. And something that they take home to their parents that they can talk about and be happy about. We give them certificates at the end of the trades classes in particular, to let them know that they've graduated from that program. So I think it's more of a collective reward that I feel that the kids are feeling and
Hmm.
that they love it. I know they're really anxious to go to their class. They love to go to each of their 6 classes. And I think definitely it's just that intimacy of the class and the fact that they are feeling so special and so noticed, and that everybody's paying attention to what they're doing, and they're able to do great things by themselves or with their little group of people that they work with.
That's great. I can just imagine the smiles. I know that when I was a teacher, we do a lot of music. And when you have that kind of passion and you're bringing that into the classroom, you're bringing out a different element of yourself, but you're also bringing out this other piece with the kids. And like, it's just
Mhm.
nothing but happiness, right? When everybody's on fire for what you're doing, it's
Yeah.
nothing but good can come out of it.
Well, I don't know that I would be the one that would be left alone in the, the trades class to take care of plumbing or building a tray or anything that involves any sort of danger work like that. But I would be probably okay in the sewing class. I think it might
And we
be
know that any sort of musical endeavor you would be, well suited for.
yeah, maybe I used to think there was a career in Broadway, but instead I'm just going to take the kids to see a Broadway show next year. So that'll
Well,
have to
you'll
be enough.
you'll be on Broadway in one way or another.
Yeah, right. All good.
So, just a couple more questions here. Where do you see this growing, or how do you see it morphing? What's that dream that you have for this as it keeps growing?
I honestly would love to see this develop into something that we could maybe start the kids a little bit younger, maybe even in 5th grade. We could
Hmm.
expand to there, where they would maybe choose a class, one of the 6 classes, or whichever classes we decide we would do, get them started a little bit younger. I would love to see this expand into after school, so that if kids really want to do this and want to do more of it, currently we're only able to offer one day a week because we have so many other subjects and other activities for them to do and instructional minutes that we have to be faithful to. But I really would love to see this become a thing at the end of, for example, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, much like, you know, we have sports day every year, then one day a year we're going to have our smarts presentations, and we're going to
Hmm.
make this a thing that you are almost like a concert. There's going to be some school wide performance or presentation of everything that they've done, so that it becomes a real goal for them to work towards. And definitely the idea of them, especially in 8th grade, creating something that is either left behind at the school. I know this year they designed tiles, because we had a parent who is a new parent at the school, but she's an interior designer. So she helped them with tile design, which was phenomenal. But something that they can literally put their mark on, and they can leave it as the class of 20, whatever, leave it for our school or for our community. So that's what we're really building this up towards. And that's totally mission aligned and in alignment with our school wide learning expectations as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. That sounds really exciting, and I'm glad that we're along for the ride with you. Uh,
Well, I'm glad you are as well. I mean, maybe the next time we do a musical, they'll make some of their costumes, and they'll make some of the props in the classes and design the programs on in their computer systems class, and help with makeup in the art class. I mean, the options, the possibilities are endless. Yeah.
yeah, we could get them to start running sound too. So there's the whole crew.
Well, that's something I definitely won't be doing. I'll just yeah, delegate that one.
Well, great. The last question I have for you is, if, let's say there's a principal out there who's hearing this and really feeling inspired by the story of what's happening at St. Philip's, what would you recommend as like that first step? Because it sounds like, you so easily started this thing, but we know it was a lot of work and a lot of setup time. Where would you say that first step is, that first conversation? What can they do to kind of go down this path?
I think for us, when we started this, I don't know whether it's just there's some sort of creative gene in me that's always looking for things to do differently. And I know you and I had an initial conversation about that, and you were encouraging me to keep that train of thought going. I think I know my kids pretty well, I know
Hmm.
our community pretty well. I was very conscious of offering something to kids, as they said at the beginning, that set them apart, if you like, because they're a bit older. And then also very conscious of the kids that needed a little boost and needed to maybe fall in love with learning all over again. So I would encourage anyone who's thinking about doing something like this to consider your community, consider your students, consider your mission and what you really truly value in your mission. One nugget, that one phrase or whatever that's very important and this would connect with. You do need to have the buy-in of your staff. It demands a lot in terms of scheduling. Unless you're going to have volunteers, you need to be able to support it financially if you're bringing in a company to help with some of this. But I think the starting point is to really consider what your students would love and what they might need, and how that would align with your mission statement or even your school-wide learning expectations, and just be able to address that need. It may be that the six classes that we have are not the six classes that other people might have. It could be that their community might benefit more from something different. Maybe something like a cooking class or bake,
Hmm.
if you have the facilities to be able to provide that, and so on. There are so many options that we can offer, but it's all about offering the kids more enrichment, more ways of understanding that they can be smart in many ways, even if they're finding math or spelling or reading or getting homework done a challenge, and offering them ways to be able to say, you know what, maybe this is something, I think I've a passion for this or a talent for this, and I think
Hmm.
I'd like to go further with it.
Yeah, I think that's such a great approach. It's you focus on the mission, you talk to your staff to make sure that's all good, but you
Mhm.
consider what students you have in front of you. And I think a lot of these special projects will come up out of a conversation with a student, or you just kind of sense that a
Mhm.
kid might do well in something. And maybe that's where you start that and you kind of try it
Mhm.
out and see if it before you commit lots of things. But it's so
Mhm.
important not to just look at what somebody else does and copy it,
Mhm.
because we've seen that, unfortunately, we've seen that visiting lots of schools, how many people try to copy somebody else and it just fails because it's not central to what they want to do.
Yeah.
And so it dies pretty easily. So if you think about your community, your mission, and your kids, your students, and you build something, it can be really successful.
I mean, it might always be worth asking kids and even parents, like if we were to offer extra classes at school, what might you like for your child? Because we never truly know all the little interests that the kids have outside of school. We know a certain amount of it, but I know for me, every year when I'm doing an all about me survey with my eighth graders, because I want to be able to add stuff to their applications for high school, I find out so many things about them that, they didn't think they needed to share. They're busy with their sports, they're busy with school, but then they do 20 other things outside of
Hmm.
school. So I think it's good maybe to tap into that as well and find out, what kinds of things was, if maybe it started with an after school program, if you were to have an extra after school program, what might be something your kids would go to, and then see if that builds up. That could be something then you add during the school day. Or if you have a school that has beautiful space for a garden, would you consider starting a gardening program for your school, because you can
Hmm.
do it right there?
Yeah. So I love it. It's so practical, so mission centered, so easy to get started. Like I just want to, see it happen, right? You just want to
Yeah.
jump in, get your hands dirty, and then see where you can take it. So I really appreciate you sharing the story with us, Mary. I'm so happy to be a part of the story, even in such a small way. But I think what you're doing with the Smarts program is really going to impact your students and your whole community.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, I remember us having a conversation way back about what we could do, and you always encouraged me to, you know, go for it and make it happen. And I'm very grateful that I have the faculty that, supports this. Even my science teachers would sit in during the trades classes or during the STEM class, even though it's their free time as such, but just to be there so they are showing the kids that they're also interested in what they're learning. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's needed as well.
So great. Well, thanks again for sharing it and
Okay.
for showing up today. Hopefully, many folks will be inspired by what you've said and will start their own Smarts program. You can't take
Okay.
Smarts, but it's going to be something else for your
No,
school.
well, it took me all of last summer to figure out that acronym, so I'm gonna I'm gonna copyright that one. Okay. All
Well,
right.
thanks,
Thank you,
Mary.
Thomas, for everything. Okay.
All
Take
right.
care.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for joining us on In Search of Catholic School Excellence. We hope you heard something inspiring or something you'd like to try at your own school. Please share this episode and leave a review to help others find us. To see how we can support your journey toward excellence, visit ilovemytechteam.com. Until next time, celebrate what's working and keep reaching for what's possible.